67% of couples report a steep drop in marital satisfaction after the first kid.
Whoa. I think having a kid just adds a whole nother layer of complexity in the marriage because now you got somebody else that you have to take care of, you have to give time, attention to. As a parent, especially if you're not ready for that level of commitment, it can be a lot. A lot of your focus and energy is shifting to another human, which then takes your attention kind of off the marriage, to be honest with you. You can't focus on 100% on everything.
Last week, we did an episode on parenting and specifically marriage during the parenting years. I thought it was a really fun one. It's obviously a topic I'm super passionate about. That is my life and my career is parenting. And so that was a fun one.
Brings you back to the good old days.
I'm living the good old days right now.
That's a good point.
But so today's podcast is going to be a little bit different. We've never done this format before, but I think it'll be really fun. So Rich had the idea
Should be epic.
that we were going to go into ChatGPT and ask for shocking marital statistics,
Oh, yeah.
right? And then we're just going to, so Rich came up with the list. I came up with the list. We're hoping, but between the two lists, we've got 10 unique ones, and we're just going to share them and talk about them and see if we have any thoughts about them.
I have quite a few of them on mine.
Do you?
I don't
Okay.
even know which ones to say. I got just a couple of them here. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, I wrote down my favorites. Yours is all digital because that's just how you roll, and mine's on paper because that's how I roll.
Cool.
So do you want to do the first one or do you want me to
You
start?
drop it hot on the first one.
Okay. All right. My first one, I found this interesting, that the average wedding in America, how much do you think the average wedding costs?
In America,
Yeah. The average American wedding.
$22,000.
Close. The average American wedding costs $33,000.
$33,000.
$33,000.
Okay.
And I found that interesting. So here's why I found that interesting and like worth talking about.
Why?
So we had a really big wedding, right?
Yes.
We had probably about 200 people at a golf course. It was beautiful. It was the whole traditional wedding reception, all of that.
Yes.
And I wouldn't change anything. It made me your wife and it was lovely.
It was great.
But my brother and his wife had a super small, like literally just immediate family in my parents' backyard. And it was really sweet. And I think if I had to go back and do it again, I probably would do it that way.
Yeah.
Over the big wedding.
I think I 100% agree. There's another stat. I didn't put it in here, and I saw it, but the stat was pretty shocking. That marriages that last longer, on a chart, on a graph, it was the more people spent on their marriage,
On their wedding.
the wedding, the less likely they were to stay together.
I saw that one too, and I didn't write it down, so I don't know the exact numbers. But yeah,
You saw that one too?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was saying that once you hit a certain threshold, maybe it was like $50,000, whatever, the divorce rate goes up,
It goes up.
which is really interesting. And you know,
Makes
I
you
think,
wonder why, right?
and I think weddings are wonderful and weddings are beautiful, and I don't think there's anything wrong with having a big, beautiful wedding if you want to. But obviously, you need to be more concerned with preparing yourself for the marriage than for the wedding.
Yeah.
And I think you can kind of, in planning a big wedding, you can kind of lose focus a little bit on the
think so.
marriage.
Yeah, I think so.
And so I thought that one was worth
I think
talking
that's
about.
exactly what happened. Are you ready for this one?
I'm ready.
This one's intense. Fewer than 2/3 of U.S. children now live with two married parents.
Fewer than 2/3.
So that means that the classic mom and dad scenario household is officially a minority.
Wow. That's crazy.
Think about that stat.
That is a crazy stat.
Does that make you frustrated, angry, sad?
It makes me sad.
And that's sad, right?
I really, really, really strongly believe I'm not a political person. I am not, but I think that so many problems in the world today could be solved if we just had stable homes with moms and dads doing their dang job.
Mm-hmm.
And too often we just want to farm our job out to schools or farm our job out to the church and like, I think if we had more diligent parents in the home with their children,
It would be a better
it would solve a
world.
lot of problems.
Yeah,
That's-
I think
that's
so.
really
I think
interesting.
a lot of the problems in the world are a breakdown. I mean, you know where
It's
it
a
all
breakdown
starts.
of
It
the
all starts
family.
with the family.
It's and like we make it
It
these big
does.
political issues that everyone likes to fight about, and it's like that's not even really the problem,
Yeah,
and that's not the solution. The solution's the family.
it is. Let's do that. That's why we got this podcast, baby.
Yeah, buddy.
Keep the family together. Keep them strong.
Exactly.
That's right. You
Okay.
got a hot drop.
That was a good one. Okay. This one I just found interesting. I don't really have an opinion on, but I just thought it was interesting.
I got
that
an opinion.
You might. 39% of couples now meet online,
That makes sense.
which I kind of thought it would have been higher than that. 39%. I would have thought it was more.
Well,
But I
I mean,
don't.
39% is a boatload.
That's a lot of people. Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy considering that the internet's literally only been around for maybe the last 20 years or what? No, not even. Last like 18 years. I mean, really? Since
Really, really.
I kind of consider since Facebook, when did Facebook start? 2007 or something like that?
Yeah,
Six?
about end of high school.
So it's like 20 years. Man, now that it wasn't even a thing. like
That's true.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, 12 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah,
And I think that number's going to keep going up and up and up.
absolutely. And I don't think there's anything wrong with meeting online.
No.
I think it was an interesting stat, but I don't really have an opinion on it.
Let me give you this banger.
All right.
27% of couples keep 100% of their money in separate accounts. Now, only 38% of married couples go all in on joint accounts.
38.
38%.
Wow.
So that is officially the minority. So if you're watching this and you have joint accounts, no other separate accounts,
Which
no other stuff.
our position is that you absolutely should.
Oh, 100%.
But wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was relatively shocking. So that means it's the minority to have really an all-in joint account with your married significant other.
That's a hard one for me to understand. I don't to me that just seems like 1 foot in the boat, 1 foot out of the boat. When marriage is like it's 2 feet in or it's nothing, Like I don't understand the separate.
What are
bank
your
account
thoughts on
thing.
prenups? I guess it depends on the stage of life.
I think it totally. So I'm against them, especially as a young newlywed.
Yeah, a young newlywed, I think you got to stay away from them.
and-
But I could maybe see why.
Yeah, within
later.
the last probably 2-ish years, maybe even year and a half, I've maybe slightly changed my position on this only because, so my dad died about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And, he felt very strongly about, building his legacy and leaving that for his children and his grandchildren. And I don't know if my mom will ever get remarried one day or not, but I could see in that situation why you might do a prenup, not because you're preparing for divorce, but because at some point, one of the two is probably going to die, and then there's other people in the mix. So it just kind of keeps things separate. So I could understand it in that situation,
Yes.
but I don't understand it as a safeguard for divorce.
Yes, I agree. I think there's a time and place for it.
Yeah.
If you're a young newlywed couple,
Yeah.
I just don't think.
And I
it's
didn't
like,
write
why
it
would you
down,
do
but
that?
did you? I read something about the percentage of couples that now sign prenuptial agreements.
I didn't see it.
didn't write it down, but I saw it.
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a time and place for them.
Okay, this one says 67% of couples report a steep drop in marital satisfaction after the first kid. 67%.
Wait, say that stat again. Okay, say it again.
67% of couples report a steep drop in marital satisfaction after their first kid.
Whoa. I mean, I could understand it, kinda,
Kind of.
because
Where do you think that stems from? What do you think that's about?
well, I think having a kid just adds a whole nother layer of complexity in the marriage, right? Because now you got somebody else that you have to take care of, you have to give time, attention to, you have to pour into resources, and I can see that as a parent, especially if you're not ready for that level of commitment, it can be a lot. And because now a lot of your focus and energy is shifting to another human, which then takes your attention kind of off the marriage, to be honest with you, because you can't focus on 100% on everything. So I think I could see why that could happen. But I think for us, it didn't. And it enhanced our marriage. But we both went into marriage thinking, dude, we want to have a lot of kids. So like we were just ready for that boat to begin with.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I think we have an epidemic of selfishness in our society. And I think that's a huge catalyst for our societal mental health issues. I just think selfishness is a big problem. And I think, having kids is hard. I'm not like, there's no doubt about that, but hard doesn't mean bad. But I think if you're just you can kind of get in this place of like, oh, woe, it's me. This is so hard. I don't get enough sleep. I don't get time with my husband. Like you need to look at it differently as like, you can see your husband in a completely new light and you can love him in a completely different way when you see him with your children. Like there's nothing sweeter than that, But it takes some selfishness, and you have to really take a back seat for decades, really. And I think that's really hard as a society for us to do. And
I would
but I
agree.
think if you're unable to do that, you will feel dissatisfaction in your marriage.
I think you need a perspective shift. It can be so easy. Like I could have easily said, well, Haley she wants to be with the kids now, you know, but that was never my perspective, but I could have soaked in that.
Oh yeah, totally.
And then if you're soaking in that perspective, it's like, well, yeah, the marriage is going to suck.
Yeah, so I think it's a selfishness problem more than a child problem. Of course, it's not the child's fault.
Yeah. Now, did you come up with that stat?
No.
Oh,
I
no,
didn't come up with it.
no, that stat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Hey, drop
I
a
just
comment
made that
below.
one
What do you
up.
think of that one right there?
Yeah, that one's crazy.
That's kind of a crazy. Okay, you ready for this one? This one's
Yes.
interesting. Being a married couple of faith,
Mm-hmm.
Bible believing Christians. Oh my gosh.
Not many of those left.
Only 1 in 1,152 couples who pray together divorce.
Say that again.
Only 1 in 1,152 couples that pray together divorce. Less than
Wow.
1%.
A lot less than 1%.
A lot less than 1% divorce. A study
Wow.
found. Now, again, this study was a little bit older, 1997, but still shocking.
1 in 1,500.
Well, basically, 1 in 1,000 couples that pray together got divorced. Less than 1%, way less than 1% couples that pray together. Now, tell me how that one hits you.
That's interesting. It makes sense though.
Why does it make sense? What do you think that does?
Well,
That tells me a lot of things about that couple.
it tells you a lot of things about that couple, but there's like, if you live in America and you ask the average person if they're a Christian, they're going to say yes, right? But do they live like a Christian? Most often no. But a couple that's going to actually like take the vulnerability and the time to pray together, like they probably really are living it
Oh, yeah.
in a lot of ways.
Prayer is very intimate.
It's so intimate and
So it's like if you can be
vulnerable.
that super intimate and super vulnerable with your married like that tells me a lot about your marriage. Like you're connected, you're on the same page, you're asking for things that you want together, you're praying for gratitude together. Like that I could see why.
Yeah,
That
and the
makes a lot
Bible
of
has
sense.
some very strong things to say about divorce. So,
Yeah.
a Bible believing Christian couple is going to be very, 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 very slow to make that call.
I like that one though. That was
Yeah, that is interesting. Okay, this one I found really interesting because I've actually been hearing a lot about this lately. Have you ever heard of sleep divorce?
Or to sleep in separate beds.
They sleep in separate beds. How many couples do you think sleep in separate beds?
Like on a nightly basis.
Like, yeah, that's their sleeping arrangement.
Like percentage?
Yeah,
Less than 15%.
35% of couples sleep in separate rooms.
Don't do that.
I
do
could
that.
not. Okay, now we
Wait,
won't.
35% of married couples sleep in separate rooms,
Sleep
but they're
in
not
separate
married.
rooms.
Like you're not married. What does it mean? I don't get
Isn't
it.
that strange? Well, we've talked a lot about on this podcast about
That's a
like
wild one.
I'm a very physical touch person, right? But like just the other night we fell asleep snuggling and I was cuddled on your chest and I said I am like 100% convinced this is the most
best
comfortable
thing in
place
the
in the
whole entire
planet. Like
world.
this is the most comfortable spot.
Yeah.
I'm positive.
Yeah.
And I could not imagine not sleeping with you. But for a lot of
yeah.
couples and you know what?
That's wild.
I don't know if that works for them. I don't really have a ton of opinion on that other than I could not do that and would not want to do that.
Anybody drop a comment
Isn't
if
that
you guys
interesting?
sleep in separate beds and you find it to be a good thing for the marriage.
And so
Maybe you need some time apart to really come back together. I don't know.
and so I follow that girl on Instagram, Style Fit Fatty,
Yeah, she's a character.
Fatima Fredrickson or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
She's really funny and all kinds of different conversations happen on her watch.
Yeah.
But that was a topic that she was talking about maybe like last week where a lot of women were saying, my husband snores a lot, so we sleep in separate rooms or I don't know, different situations.
Oh, that's wild.
But so I had just been reading through that conversation and then I read that stat and I was like, wow.
Talk
that
about
is-
an intimacy killer.
I know. And then some people were saying like, oh my gosh, so do you do like the walk of shame like to your own
like to
bedroom
my
at
own
night?
bedroom. See, hey, high five and get out of there.
And the lady was like, there's no walk of shame. Like we're married and it's our own house. It's like we do the peacock strut to our own room. But like, I don't know. I don't get it.
Huh. Maybe they sleep better. I don't know. Who knows? Okay, you ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Only 14% of Americans name their spouse as their best friend.
Only 14%.
Name their spouse. Now, is that good? Like, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, should your spouse be your best friend? would you say? Like, because okay, if I were to ask you who your best friend is, what would you say?
It would be you.
And if you were to ask me, I would say you too. But
Right.
I guess we're only part of that minority of the 14%. But why is that?
I don't know. I don't necessarily think that.
But we're not huge friend people. That too.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. I think different, like
Yeah.
my brother and his wife, they're like just the most outgoing, extroverted,
G money.
wonderful people. Right. And they just have so many friends and so many people love them. You know, we're not really that way.
Yeah. We're both introverted.
you
I
know,
know you
so-
think I'm an extrovert, but I don't think I am.
I know. But some people I think have more of a capacity for friendship.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I've never been a
14%.
huge friend. Yeah, I thought it would be more than that, though, for some reason. I don't know. Do you think
yeah.
it would be less?
No, I would have thought it was more. That would at least say their spouse is their best friend.
Like
I
their
think
best
even my
friend.
brother and Sarah would.
I
Probably
mean,
say.
because you think about it, right? Who do you hang out with the most in your
Yeah.
life? I mean, I'd probably be your spouse, right? Well, I guess maybe not. I
maybe
guess if you're-
not. Like if your husband works.
yeah,
and
I guess
stuff.
maybe we spend more time together than normal too. I don't know. Could be a lot of factors.
Yeah,
there.
that's interesting. Okay.
What would you say? Drop a comment. Is your spouse your best friend? What do you got?
Okay, this one I found really interesting. 40% of people report keeping a financial secret from their spouse. And here's the second half.
24%?
40%.
40%?
40% of people report keeping a financial secret from their spouse. Now, part B is even more shocking. 45% of people say that is as bad as cheating.
It's bad. It's not as bad as cheating
I agree with you, but it is bad.
because you're lying. Like you're.
But if you have separate accounts, it's like, is it even really keeping a secret? Because
Now, hey, let's tell secrets. Have you ever bought anything and didn't tell me about it?
no,
Never.
never.
Have I ever done that? See, it'd be a lot easier for me to do it because you never check the account.
Yeah.
I always I know every
Yeah.
I know every penny that you spend.
Rich gets a text message anytime I use our debit card, and we don't have credit cards. We only
and
have
I don't
debit
do
card.
that to keep tabs on you. I
No,
do that
and I
just
don't
because I
care.
want to make sure, like, just with the
Just to
number of
keep tabs,
transactions,
yeah.
make sure everything's going good. But man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
40%'s a lot.
40% of people report keeping a financial secret, and 45% say that's as bad as cheating.
That's good. That's overboard.
But I could see
I
if
get
if
what
you're
they're
running
saying.
your family into the ground financially and you're accruing all of this debt and putting yourself in this hole and your husband doesn't know or your wife doesn't know, that's pretty bad.
That is bad.
You know, it's not just an average like, oh, I bought a new purse and didn't tell my husband. It's like we're $100,000 in debt and he doesn't know.
well,
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, that is bad. I mean, I would definitely I would say that erodes trust. I mean, again, now if you don't have trust in the marriage, and here's the thing too. Another stat I was going to say now, most people probably know this, but the number one reason why people get divorced is around money.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, there is a correlation there because
Well, I didn't write it down, but I had read the stat that if a couple fights about money more than once a week, whatever, they have like a 30% higher chance of divorcing.
yeah,
Yeah.
finances,
Finance is a big one.
especially nowadays. I mean, dude, everything is like so expensive, dude.
But I would say
Like,
that's
dear
another
Lord.
reason why you should share an account.
More transparency.
More transparency, more trust,
Yeah.
maybe less even of a temptation to try to
More
like,
accountability.
more accountability.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
more
good word.
accountability.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it just can kind of eliminate a lot of those things where you think you're solving the problem by getting a separate account. I think you're maybe
Yeah.
creating a bigger problem.
Now, here's the one caveat I'd say about that is for us, it's very aligned because you don't make money,
Mm-hmm.
I make the money, so it's like you don't have this thing of like, well,
This is
I
mine.
make my money and you make
Yeah,
your
that's
money,
true.
and we're gonna now when couples make their own money, I mean, not that I would condone it, but I do see how there may be some feelings of like, well,
I could see how they get there mentally, but
Yeah.
but that's not a marriage, right? Marriage
Yeah.
is everything.
I think
What's
it's
mine
like-
is
yeah,
yours,
it's just
right? So like if you're
you
having
win, we all win, everybody wins. It's not like, oh, I won this. I had a great month. I'm gonna go spend my
Right.
money, and like,
right, if you're having those
Yeah.
thoughts of this is mine, like
oh, I don't
that's
know.
a problem.
I don't know if
like
that
that.
could be a very intimate marriage.
no.
I doubt it. I don't know.
Okay. That was mine. So now you're next.
That was yours. Okay. What do you think of this one? Americans say the ideal age to marry is 26 and a half years old. And then others, but the other half, like a little over 50% say that. The other half insist there's no perfect age at all. What do you fall on?
I would say I tend to believe that the perfect age is maybe a little younger than that. I would think
Okay.
like 24.
Do you have a reason why?
I think that if you get too established as an adult and then try to bring a spouse into that, it can kind of create these feelings of like, oh, this is how I do it. And that, like, you kind of get a little rigid. Whereas if you marry younger and build something together that feels like yours, you're a little bit more malleable. Um,
Yeah, 24 is good. I mean, they do say that the human brain is not fully formed and cognitive until 25.
for,
So I wonder,
is that men specifically?
I think
though,
that's
or
all. I think that's all
across
humans.
the board?
I think that's across the board. So it's like, I guess there could be an argument like before 25. Can you really think?
I was 23 when we got married.
Yeah, no. I mean,
And
my
you were
parents were
24.
18.
Oh,
Talk about that. I don't know. Is there? Can you get married too young?
of course. Although
So
like
there's
as
another- there-
as a mom, my prayer is really that our children will get married young
Yeah. Well,
to the right person.
here's the thing too that I'll say that kind of accompanies it. This is just on as during the research. Marrying before age 25, having no college degree or low income, all spike divorce risks.
Which you had a college degree. I didn't. And we
And-
were low income
yeah.
and we were under 25 and we made it.
Yeah, and I know, and I wonder. I'm like, I get what that means. I get why that would. I mean, because look, you figure, okay, marrying before age 25 means that maybe you make
Okay.
worse decisions, and then you have low income. Number one reason for divorce is finances. So I mean, I guess I get it, but
Okay. Now I wrote down this, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
That after 32, every year you wait to marry increases divorce odds by 5% every year.
after 32.
After 32. So like that's a pretty narrow gap.
So
right
now
there.
you want to get married between 25 and 32.
25 and 32, apparently.
Don't delay, baby.
Yeah, I would say
that's
obviously
interesting.
person matters a lot more than age at the end of the day. But I would not want to wait too long. I would say get married earlier.
Yeah, I like earlier too. I fall in that bucket of earlier. Because at the end of the day, I think it matters most on the person. Like
course.
who you are and who you're becoming matter more than
And how
all the
you
other
view
stuff.
the commitment of marriage.
100%. Is there options or not? Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's a good point.
Okay. This one was interesting, and I think that you'll relate to this. When one partner's work commute is 45 minutes or more, divorce risk jumps 40%.
Whoa, wait, say that again.
When one partner's commute is 45 minutes or more, divorce risk jumps 40%.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? So there was a time in our life where Richard's
I think because people
commute,
just get miserable.
yeah, so your commute was between 2 and 3 hours a day.
No, well, yeah, a day, yeah.
A
it was.
day.
Oh,
not
yeah, 2 to
like
3, yeah, for
between
sure.
there and home.
Yeah, 100%.
So I thought you might relate to that one. So I wanted to hear what you thought of that one.
Well, I'll tell you what, like, I think it all depends on how you use that time. I used that time to learn. That was my university.
He called it Chevy University.
Chevy University. By the way, it was about 1/100th of the price of college, and I learned a lot more in my Chevy University. So I think there's actually a good. You could do a lot of damage in that commute time.
Yeah.
But you got to make use of the time.
Yeah,
For
I'll
me,
say
I felt like it
you-
was great.
And you just are.
But I
very-
hated. I did hate it.
Did
Don't
you
get me
hate it?
wrong.
Because that's what I was going to say. Is you were like you didn't seem miserable.
No, well, I made the best of it,
You
and I
really
think
did.
I really learned. I think without my Chevy University, I think I would have done myself actually a lot of harm. But I didn't like it. I mean, again, I love not having a commute anymore.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want
I
to go
love
back
you not
to
having-
having Chevy University.
Well, yeah, because
but-
during that time in our life, you were leaving at like what 4 a.m, and you were going to the gym before work, and then you were working all day, and then you weren't getting home
so
till like 6:30.
6:30. Yeah.
So I mean, that was significant. So then, and we had little kids. I think we only had the boys at that time. Maybe Harbor was born during that time.
Yeah.
And so you would get home, we would eat, give the kids a bath, and
Yeah.
like so you'd say you got home at 6:30. The kids went down at 8, so you had
Yeah.
an hour and a half with the kids.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That I'm so thankful.
I mean, it
that's
is
our life.
crazy, but you got. I mean, you think about this. There's a lot of people doing that,
And you gotta do what
that
you gotta
done it
do.
for years and years and years. But I do think. I mean, I'll say this. I do think we live in a day and age where there's other options. now.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think there's a lot of options.
we have a brother-in-law who lives out here close to us and works like in downtown LA. So he's got probably a 4-5 hour commute every day. Oh, that is brutal. And he's been doing it for years.
Yeah, because look, if you take let's just say you take 5 hours a day 5 times, let's just say how many weekdays in a year? 270. So 5 times 270. I wonder what that would be. And then you divide that by 24. How many days did that
Be a
take
lot.
away from your? I don't know. We'd have to
Yeah.
do the math, but man, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a bombshell right here. Premarital cohabitation before engagement drives divorce risk up by 48%.
48.
So the let's move in and see still comes with the cost.
Wow.
That makes sense, man.
Yeah, it does.
And here's the other stat though, is that 48% more risk of a divorce when you move in right before getting married. But here's the other stat: 70% of now couples live together before getting married.
74%.
70%.
70%.
So tell me how that math's gonna equate.
Yeah, that math's not going to look too good in a few years.
And a lot of people say, well, hey, you got to move in because you got to see if you're compatible and you got to see if if it's going to work out before. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, and just, if in case you're not married or you're dating and considering that, Rich and I, we never lived together before we were married. We never traveled together. We literally had never woken up in the morning next to each other until the day after our wedding day.
Yeah.
And it was the most wonderful, beautiful, special. Oh, just do this.
You're still here?
Oh, is this allowed? But
that's good.
I think, there should be a difference in your life from waking up as a husband and wife and waking up as a fiance. Like that should look different. I would encourage you to do that.
I agree.
Okay. This one was interesting. Marriages of mismatched faith. How much more likely do you think they are to divorce if they have mismatched faith?
I think a ton.
They're 3 times more likely to divorce couples of mismatched
I thought
faith.
it was going to be more than that, but still, that's
Although
a ton. That's a ton.
That's a lot.
That's a ton.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, mismatched faith. Again, you at that point you have different worldviews. You have different ways that you see life going.
Different.
Now you have kids involved.
And
now, what do the kids do? They go this route. I mean, that's tough.
Yeah, and I've thought, and that's one thing. So we have a nephew who, he's young. He doesn't know yet, but he's kind of in this stage of like, I don't see why that matters.
Yeah, I could say he's young.
He's young, but I remember telling him, honey, like, one day when your parents die or your wife's parents die, like, how are you going to decide what to tell you? Like that, those things matter. Like faith in a marriage matter, or even just like silly little things. Like if my kids will just ask questions all the time. And I feel like if we didn't have this shared faith that we could share with them.
Oh man, that'd be tough.
Oh, it would be so hard. And that's the one thing we always tell our kids is like, that is the one thing you have to look for in a spouse is a shared faith. And then everything else, and they have to be kind. That's one thing I always tell my kids
kindness and a shared faith.
And
hard to go wrong with that.
And everything else, if you want someone athletic, you want something fun, you want something funny, you want whatever. I mean, work those things out. But being kind and a shared faith are non-negotiables.
Yeah. But mom, like when we get married, like I'll convert him to
right.
And
my daughter will say, our daughter's 6, but I'll take him to church. I'm like, no, honey. You marry a man who takes you to church, baby.
Yeah.
You don't marry a man you gotta take to church.
Not the other way around. I think you got it backwards. Yeah. No bueno. Makes sense though. Okay, so check this out. We'll do maybe a couple more, huh?
I have 2 more.
Okay, what do you think of this stat? In today's marriages, 29% earn about the same, and 16% have a breadwinner wife.
Interesting.
What are your thoughts? Violent reactions? What do you think?
Violent reactions.
So 29% earn about the same, and 16% have a breadwinner wife. I know a couple. I know 4 or 5 married. No, 3 married couples that have a breadwinner wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hey, the husbands love it.
Oh,
they got a sugar mama. They're ready to go, baby.
I can think of 4.
But maybe 4. Oh, I don't know who you're thinking of, but I know of 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's interesting. And it just kind of, should I get controversial or should I just leave it alone?
Do you want to drop the bomb little thing? I think we have like sound things.
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, we have to set that up. But I don't know. Hey, be as controversial as you want. Let's get viewers. No,
okay, I'm just going to say this. I am not a feminist, right?
You're anti-feminist.
I am an anti-feminist in a lot of ways. But the feminists like to sit there and cry this gender wage gap, and that just goes to show you it's nonsense.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
Hey, Like, you're CEO of your company, Trish.
Yeah.
Freaking awesome. And I love that she's so good at her job and does well. And I love that. I don't
Yeah.
have any issue with that.
I think women are like,
You love hiring women.
I love hiring women. I mean, nothing against guys. I'm a guy, but I think they're just, in a lot of ways, they're just sharp. They're sharp people, man.
Women are.
Women are. They're just very
More
sharp.
intuitive.
The way they think, and they're intuitive, and they don't. I love guys. Sometimes guys, our testosterone, we get a little out of control. Like, we create these massive goals and these massive things, and we get all this energy. But like, women are like
Laser focused.
like, they're focused, and they have reasonable goals, and they move the company reasonably forward. I don't know. I just think they're
Well, here's one way I've heard it explained is that men in general think on a very macro level
yeah.
and women think on a very micro level. And so I
Yes.
think when you're looking at a business, the women are really able to take the business and focus it and like get it where it wants to go. Where
Yes.
the men are maybe a little bit more like, where should we go with the business? And the women are like, this is where we're going. You know what I mean?
Very intelligent.
Yeah.
Humans.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
And maybe by design. Obviously by design. but-
Obviously.
Okay. Was that you?
That was you.
That was me. Okay.
Although I only have one more.
Okay. What do you got?
I thought this was interesting. Cancer patients were 20% more likely to survive if they were married.
That makes sense. 100%.
Why does that make sense to you? What do you think that's about?
Well, I do think that a big part of wanting to stay alive is a will. How bad do you want to stay alive? And I think if you're married, well, then what that probably comes with too, most of the times, is kids. So now you have a married somebody to stay alive for and kids to stay alive for. I think that motivation and that juice just to like find answers and find solutions and being in just a state of like, dude, I got to do it for my family type of deal. Like, I think that just helps you stay alive.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously,
Now,
I have
going
to
back
give a
your dad,
caveat
it
to
doesn't,
that.
yeah, it doesn't work all the time, obviously.
There
but-
comes a point where it's not going to work
Yeah.
anymore and nobody's going to live forever. And I think that if you have a spouse who dies early or whatever, it's not that they didn't have enough love for
Yeah.
you to stick around. Obviously, that's not true. But I
Yes.
do think that can be a factor. I also think if you're married, you probably just have somebody that's willing to take care of you. You know,
Great
because like
point. Somebody else to help you find solutions.
cancer treatment freaking
yeah.
sucks.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like I don't even know how you would go through it alone if you didn't have anyone to take care of you, you know? So I think
Yeah.
that's probably a big factor too. It's just that you had somebody there to get you your food, to make sure you were eating, to, you know,
Take care of you.
take care of you.
And the more you're taken care of, maybe the higher chances are you're going to stay alive.
Of course.
Okay. This one, you're going to like this one. I don't want you to take a wild guess.
Okay, let me hear.
Couples who schedule a monthly date night
Hmm.
are what percent likely to less likely to divorce? How much percent less likely? Once a month.
I'm going to say 20%.
Close. 14%.
14% less likely to divorce.
That's a high value activity.
That is a high value activity.
Look, 14% less likely just doing one date night a month. I think that's pretty cool.
That is.
Now, I wonder what they would be if you do one a week.
I know. I bet it.
Can you
even
double
better.
that? Go to 28% or maybe triple it? I don't know. So what do you think?
I know. Interesting.
I like this episode.
Yeah.
This is great. We can go all day.
I'm actually out. But if you've got any more, throw them at me.
Let me see. Do I have any other stuff that I found interesting?
What was the most shocking one you think?
I think fewer than 2/3 of U.S. children now live with two married couples. I didn't see. I mean, that one to me is very, very shocking.
Yeah, it is.
Because that would mean your average household with kids is not what you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What about you?
For me, I think the most shocking was that 35% of couples sleep in separate rooms. I found that shocking.
That one is probably tied too. I mean,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's crazy. I just can't even imagine.
I didn't get any ones around sex. How many times married couples have sex? I wonder what that would be, but
Yeah.
that'd be interesting. That was a good episode.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a good idea,
enjoyed it.
babe.
I enjoyed it.
Cool. All right. Well,
Drop a comment below. What was the most shocking one for you?
yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
Or if you have another stat that we didn't share here that might shock us.
Yeah, drop it in the comments. That'd be great.
And as usual, if you found this episode entertaining or something you want to share with a friend, share the episode, comment, leave a review, subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff.
Boom, 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 boom. Follow, subscribe. We'll see you later.
See you later. Thank you.